When I lay down at night, I miss you by my side, telling me about your secrets. I dream and fantasize that I come by your house, telling you about my regrets.
Welcome to our first women's round pool play here at Nottingham. Second round of games for these two teams, but the first on our live stream as you get Smog versus Siik. Last time these two met, it ended in universe, but that's going to be Tessa Hunt throwing a dime and getting blocked. Foul call underneath it, but that looked like a pretty decent attempt.
Yeah, it looked like a decent attempt, but I think the Constantine had position the whole way there. So if Ennis has got the disc, it wouldn't surprise me if she's had to go through Constantine's arms. It's definitely a bang-bang play, very, very tight, but it wouldn't surprise me if this was a foul. But obviously, the two of them had best perspective here, and they are discussing it just to work out what happened.
So contested foul, and is saying she thought she did that clean enough. So the disc will return to Tessa Hunt. Of course, this is the first debut season in true full club fashion that Smog are playing in the Open and Women's divisions. We saw the Smog iteration of the Women's division back in that first season out of the pandemic, the kind of League of Six, where they were not eligible to get all the way to Nationals. It's great to see them doing damage. They took a universe point win against Bristol in their first round today, so will they have enough to do the same against Siik? Thompson up line. Of course, we had the other Thompson twin in the previous round here on the showcase field with Reading mixed, but Helen Thompson finding Hyde. Big contingent from the GB Women's programme on this Smog roster. Blackburn puts that one up and it's going to be snapped down. I think that might be, no, it's not Wells.
Looks like it was Fielder, but it was a throw that was always rising from Constantine, although Fielder is unable to carry that through. It's that conservation of greatness, I think is what they call that. I can't remember which one's which, but it was a nice block, but it was the throw was always rising, and then Siik unable to capitalise going into the wind.
Yeah, it is tricky. Wind coming left to right as our camera views have it. As Hunter shoots up line for Hyde. Now that's a connection you're going to see a fair few times this season on home shores and as well as overseas in Australia later this year.
Yeah, Avril Hunter, one of the top cutters for GB Women, and Lucy Hyde, one of their main handlers, both usually playing offense as well, so they play a lot, as you say, Hannah, on both teams. Really nice throw from Hunter there. The wind is behind, so that can be a little challenging to that touchy little pass into that front corner for the goal, but it's a really, really nice throw, and Hyde runs onto it really well. Smog were moving the disc pretty well before that shot into the end zone, and seemed to be in pretty good form, as you say, having beaten Bristol. So we'll see what this D line looks like coming out against Siik's first look at, or our first look against Siik's O line. Indeed,
both these teams are using this event to get their ranking points for EUCS qualification. Of course, in the women's division, we've only had the one wild card that's been offered at the moment. That was, of course, to the champions of the Elite Invite, Jinx Midnight of Berlin. But a kind of a bit of a handful of GB teams ranked together. Iceni, Bristol and LMU all currently within qualification position, and Smog in a potential bid spot down at number 16.
Yeah, I think Smog are not far off, and that's without having their full team at a lot of these tournaments. They've been missing a lot of players for GB women's trainings, GB mixed trainings, so I'm expecting them to do pretty well here, and then as we go into the rest of the season, they could be pulling those points back up.
That one just bobbles off the fingertips. Great effort and a good jump from Blackburn, but unable to reel that one in. Oh, no, it's Flavel, sorry. The Siik training jerseys have numbers on them, but they're very, very small, those long sleeves. So Quinn getting us started over to Anderson. First look at the offense of Smog's D-line. Johnson. That one And easy for Quinn. Steps into it. Really solid stuff. Oh, but it just pops out of the chest like a piece of toast in the morning. Tiffany Anderson, one of the OG Smog players from the earliest days of their club programme. So that starts off from Sophie Hayden. Rupal Galani unable to extend and get underneath it. Certainly not an individual lacking in athleticism by anyone's imaginations.
Smog's D-line there with really, really nice offense, and Siik at the moment just struggling to get that disc moving. That's 2 first pass turnovers for them.
So a side stack coming out of Smog, trying to isolate Neoma. Hesitates a little bit, but Quinn there available in the central pocket. Taking that inside backhand for Cabe. Now Neoma. Quinn just trying to grind up the far sideline. Oh, that's a really interesting break again. Smog trying to connect with Tiffany Anderson in the end zone, but falling short.
Those inside shots to that cone, neither of them coming off. They're both tough throws, both tough catches. But Smog are doing such a good job up to that point of finding the open person, moving the disc. Quinn, who's on the GB women's squad this year for the first time, a young player who's really been growing in the last couple of years, running the point, and then as soon as you get to that right on the end zone line, they seem to struggle a bit more. So one to look out for Smog's O-line, but again, Siik really struggling to even generate a single bit of movement.
Well, Pickens just lashing it deep, and Blackburn trying to collect that one, but just tumbles out of her outstretched palms. So both teams having some stutters on offense in the early stages of this match.
I think so, although I'm not sure about stutters is the right phrase at the moment for Siik, because to stutter you've got to be able to get up, and Siik haven't really got going yet.
Oh, that's very nearly the catch block, but doesn't make the job easy for Quinn with the knee slide. Lim now streaking through, love that little soft pass. There's nothing soft about that one though, it's going to come back down to earth like a rocket. And Galani underneath there to just give it that extra little bounce away.
Another shot into that end zone again though, it's an open shot, really nice little reset from Quinn to Lim, and then Lim just waits a moment and then puts it into the wind. But when you put it into the wind, you can see as she releases it, that nose of the disc is up. That's just going to go up, 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 sail in the wind. It was close. It looked as though Johnson might have been able to get a hand on there, but it's just a little too high. And now Siik with a 4th opportunity to try and get this offense moving. So far, it's been tough for them.
So Pickens getting us back underway. Hopefully she can find an option she likes a little bit more than before. It's the move through from Congreve. Poached off on that far sideline. Congreve has so much separation. Galani sees it and takes the option. A very tall athlete for sure. That number 11 for Siik. Has Blackburn and supporting act in the form of Spanton. Sneaky inside. Kalani's going to have to scoop that one up. Just turns on those jets. And tell you what, player of the point for that one, Laura Congreve or Rupal Galani, take your pick.
Yeah, it's a point very much by the seat of your pants really for Siik. There's a lot going on, some tough catches, and also a couple of, it looked like miscommunications. There was one there where it went over to Galani where the reset wasn't moving out of the way, had to go over her head. The throw from Galani, it could have been that got blocked, not by an offensive player, but by one of our own teammates, because just Pickens standing kind of, or cutting into the same kind of space as Congreve. As we watch the replay, you see the reset comes out, but because the person in the reset position is not moved, it looks a little messy. Galani's able to run and catch onto that just because of the wind, I think, holding that up. And it's a nice throw. Pickens is the one that's risky of potentially blocking that, but thankfully it gets through to Congreve. Siik get themselves on the board, struggled a lot going with the wind at their backs for the first few times they had the disc there, but finally able to get that hold, get themselves on the board, and now we are going to be seeing whether they can exert some more defensive pressure on Smog's O-line.
So one apiece so far, still all to play for. Games here at UK Nationals being played to 80 minutes time cap. So you see Gigi Morrison just trying to sort that pull out. Hannah Randall's, of course, coming into the fold for Smog. And Dahlman. Thompson. Little shovel. Colenso. This is really lovely rapid fire float against the Siik zone. It's not really able to contain much at the moment. Morrison now. Through, you can see that little head bump from Hunter. She watches the disc all the way into her hands. And the melt to match now for Siik. Thompson trying to stretch it all the way down, and it just falls into the lap of Avril Hunter at the final moment.
Lovely patient offense from Smog, working through that zone. The Siik zone didn't really seem to cause them too many issues, and then as soon as they melted, you could see the player marking Hunter. I'm not 100% sure who it was, I couldn't see the number on her shirt, but the person marking Hunter was underneath her the whole time, and as soon as she got a little further away, you can see Thompson spots it, immediately recognises and just puts it up there, puts it out in front of her, knowing that there's no way, particularly with the wind behind her, that disc is going to be able to be caught by the Siik player. The only person with a chance at it is Hunter. The only risk you've got is missing too far forward, and when you've got a player like Hunter, you don't miss too far forward very frequently.
Yeah, someone that really does commit to the athletic conditioning and training does Hunter. And it does show in her agility and just pure straight line speed.
Yeah, very shifty. Really, really good player. Played with her last year on the GB Mixed Masters team. Just an absolutely fantastic teammate.
Yeah, always brings real positive energy as well. You can I mean, even in the opening point of this game that Smog's O-line sort of, got that hold in, the enthusiasm of her score celebration for kind of what you might say is a relatively, I mean, every point is meaningful, but it's not, not the point to really put your game to its highest level of energy. So you can see the wind starting to rise as the roller pull makes it to just beyond halfway. And Wilson, one of the long-time players for Siik, is going to connect with Wells. Pickens on the far sideline. A flash of the fake sends her matchup all the way down. That one a little bit spicy. And an action roll. Wilson with the idea for the inside shot, and again it's Congreve scooping up in the end zone with throws that I don't think are designed for her.
I'm not 100% sure who that one was for, but it's a throw into space. It looked like it was for Golding, but Golding was also in quite an uncomfortable and awkward position to receive that. That was over her shoulder while she's kind of looking at Wilson. It would have required quite a recovery to get there, but it's a throw into space, and the space is definitely open. But it seemed much easier for Siik to move the disc on that point. They moved it a lot more effectively, took options, as you see. Golding really would have had to recover and catch up to that one, but doesn't need to. Congreve gets there to catch it as well. Siik's offense looks a little better with some of the more experienced disc handlers out there, and they are able to get a clean hold. 2 clean holds in a row.
Yeah, things perhaps a little bit calmer after the slightly shaky start, especially for Siik's O-line.
You might be just getting used to the wind as well. It is quite windy now. You can really see with the flags. It was windy in the first game of the day that I commentated in. It looked like it got a little windier in the last round of the mixed game, and I think it stepped up even more for this game. That you could see the Smog pull. The last point was not supposed to be a roller pull, but it ended up rolling because the wind just flipped it.
Well, of course, it's also the changing nature of a lot of tournaments is the fact that you have pitches that have different orientations as well. And here on the show pitch, we have that nice set of evergreen trees to our left-hand side. It also creates an interesting swirling effect at times for the gusts here on pitch number 1. Thompson sitting deep into that pivot scuba that's going to escape the fingertips of Avril Hunter.
Yeah, Helen Thompson, about as good a zone player as you'll find in the UK, but just overcooks that scuba. So Avril Hunter goes over her head, and it is now a shot for the Siik D-line to start taking this game away.
So Hannah Scott to pick up. Identifies the immediate poach off. Requires a little bit of a adjustment there, but all fine. Booth inside. Nice work. Fielder on the far sideline. Big poach off from Tessa Hunt. They don't see it, so have the opportunity upfield to Cockle. Spins around, looks a little bit frustrated, but Fielder's there. Oh, sorry, that's not Fielder, that's Roisin Lynch. Connie Lynch, even. Third time's the charm.
Yeah, Connie playing for Siik, Roisin playing for Spice sisters. I don't know if they're twins, but definitely sisters.
Oh, they're sisters, yeah.
Okay.
Chloe popping it through. Oh, that's a really lovely break, and it's going to expand it. And Eleanor Ennis with the goal, and that is the first break of the game, going in favour of Siik.
Yeah, really nice offense from Siik there. Got the disc moving. Lynch did a good job keeping it moving it particularly on this break side once they got an opportunity. And then that reset back into the middle was a really, really nice throw. It came to Booth, and Booth was able to find Ennis for a pretty comfortable catch in the end. But considering they're going against the wind, or they were going against the wind that way, it was a really nice play. Flavel with that reset off the line as we see here. This is a tough throw, a really, really tough throw. Down, low, backhand, against a good force, a good player in Lucy Hyde. And as soon as Booth gets that, Booth has the whole of that side of the field to aim for and gets it right into the hands of Ennis.
So, I tell you what, if this goes the way of Siik, obviously there's a lot of game left to play, and Smog definitely have the depth to punch a few breaks in of their own. But what an interesting thing it would be if Siik managed to overturn Smog here after they, of course, defeated top seed in this pool, Bristol Women.
Yeah, it would be kind of fitting, to be honest. Smog have had such an unusual season. They seem to be able to beat really good teams and then lose to really good teams, or beat teams that they should be beating and lose the teams they should be beating. They are really difficult to predict, because the top level of their roster is good enough to beat anyone in the UK. That honestly, it's good enough to compete with most teams in Europe. They have so many players that play for Great Britain, or have in the past played for Great Britain, and yet they are difficult to predict, and for some reason seem to have games where they just don't quite put it all together. Whereas Siik, as you say, had a tough first game, but they have beaten many of these Smog players before, and they've got a lot of good results this year. So this is not a given by any stretch for Smog, despite their good starts of the day.
Great pickup from Thompson. Fakes that big shot. Of course, the zone was what caused that spoil before, and this time the wind just picks that one up and away from the fingers of Lucy Hyde.
Yeah, that throw from Hayley Dalman just bobbled a little bit, literally as it got to Lucy Hyde's hands, and she just isn't able to wrap them around the disc. And now it's another shot for Siik's D-line, this time with the wind in their favour. Lynch
to Lavarsky Bond. Galani is across for this point. And she's going to go for it. Oh, that's such a lovely throw from Lavarsky Bond. And perfect positioning and poise. I think that one might have been good, you know. And indeed, it is called on the field. That's 2 breaks on the trot for Siik.
And it's another big point and another really, really nice offensive execution. Lavarsky Bond's throw to Galani is same third. It's a really, really tough throw to make, but puts just enough edge on it that it goes over Galani's shoulder and rolls beautifully back into her path. Nice feet as well from Galani to jump it in. Really, really good start from Siik. They struggled immensely on their first offensive point, but since that, they've been able to really play well, and they've had a clean hold and 2 clean breaks, I think.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, after being shaken, indeed, that 6 turnover point that they eventually put in the bank, this is quite the difference. And the vibes coming off right now are very, very fiery indeed from Siik. Clearly enjoying themselves out there. Kind of now seen as one of the more developmental teams coming out of London. Siik, of course, their original purpose was to create a home for some of the northern contingent that didn't want to join Iceni way back when. But they've now officially, I think, had a full roster change. I don't believe there are any original Sicklets left on the roster.
No, but then, I mean, that's generation-wise, you'd have people that have been playing for quite some time at that point. I think most of the people that would have been around at the start of Siik are probably on LMU now.
Indeed.
But
so they're still playing?
They're still playing. Is Kirsten Wells might be the person who's been around for the longest for Siik, I think.
Possibly, or possibly Wilson or Galani.
Oh, it might be Wilson. I think Galani, because Galani moved to London after university, so I don't think it would be her. but Wilson might be a decent shout. He's probably Kirsten Wells or Caitlin Wilson. But you've got a mixed line out from Smog here as well. They've certainly brought Hannah Quinn over. Other than that, we have mostly O-line, it looks like. But yeah, Hannah Quinn certainly over to add a bit of punch to the O-line. She has been running the D-line offense, and they need a bit of extra pep on this O-line to get the D-line back out there.
Hyde with Thompson going for the crashes. Now, Colenso. Oh, nearly come unstuck with that little bit of give-go action. Very tight matchup from Booth. Now the delivery through to Thompson. See the vision and the temptation to throw to the break side, but it's just going to be a lofty one. Nearly friendly fire, but they do make it connect.
That was a really risky throw from Helen Thompson. Wind behind you, just kind of popping that backhand up into that front cone. And it was over the head of Avril Hunter. Thankfully for everybody in a black jersey, it was one of her teammates backing it up. But Smog, you still walk through that zone pretty comfortably. As soon as it switched to match, a little more pressure, but Thompson able to find space on the front cone. Better offensive execution from Smog that time around. Although, to be fair, their execution has been pretty decent. They've just fallen foul of the wind a couple of times.
Absolutely. I think, if you're Siik, it makes sense to choose that zone again. There was, the turnover generation before, albeit from that little cheeky gust that took the disc away from Lucy Hyde. But again, you've got to be good to be lucky. And you can see there, actually, obviously, you don't like to see friendly fire at any point, but the proper attack there of the disc is what made that work. And shame none of the defenders thought about going towards it.
Yeah, you could see Hannah Scott is in position to potentially get there, but instead of going through the disc, she stops and puts an arm out, whereas it looks like it's Colenso from behind, just carries on going and snatches it away and ends up securing the point for her team. As we see Smog's D-line out there again, and Quinn not out there for a second time, so she's getting a rest here. So it's a match from this Smog D-line against the split stack for Siik.
Pickens. Galani trying to do a little bit of shoulder shimmy fake, so no yards to be gained, but there is the scope that goes up. That's going to go well out of bounds, but it is a really nice idea seeing Beatrice Bowlby, just a very difficult one to execute with the wind.
Yeah, you could see there that the Smog player got turned around. It was a really nicely constructed play. Bowlby came under and just pushed this defender all the way under. Looks like it was Johnson, who just didn't really have any play on it whatsoever. Galani recognises the space. It was a good option, just can't quite execute it. Again, with the wind behind you, if you put a little bit too much edge on it, it's going to exacerbate that thing, amplify the slight error and push it out of bounds.
So Lim starting from one of the more difficult corners of the pitch. And now it's Chu. And not sure if that's an error or a run through block for Spanton, but either way it will do. And it's bookends. Another score on the board for Siik. Not a break this time, but it will do for a 5-3 scoreline.
Yeah, that reset from Bond, just, I think that has to go down as an error. Defender's in perfect position and Bond essentially throws it directly at the defender. It's the right thing to do to try and reset that disc. It just needs a bit more angle backwards to get Lim to run onto it, I think. But a turnover for Smog. Their D-line unable to get any forward momentum. You can see Bond throwing it, and Spanton doesn't really have to move too much to get her hands on it. And then it's a good, quick start from Siik, and Spanton able to get that score. Siik really starting with a lot of energy here, whereas Smog at the moment struggling to match that. Could just be the first, you can see a couple of breaks, the energy goes down a bit. I'm sure it'll come back, but at the moment Siik are the ones pushing their agenda on the game, making Smog play at their pace.
Well, we've talked a lot about the hype of Smog beating Bristol on Universe, but what we've actually failed to mention is the fact that Horizon beat Siik on Universe. So when I say this result could cause all sorts of mischief within the pool, we've already had 2 rounds of just craziness happening so far. So every point really mattering in this matchup between the 2nd and 3rd spots in Women's Pool B.
Yeah, both of those results upsets. You wouldn't have expected Siik to beat Bristol. Bristol, one of the favourites. I think Bristol and Iceni really came into this tournament as the two favourites to make the final and contest for the title. So Smog beating them, while not completely outside the realms of possibility. Smog have been good all year and have a lot of talented players. It was a bit of a surprise, but Horizon, who've been around for a couple of years now, developing, them beating Siik was certainly a bigger surprise. Really, really good result for Horizon, but Siik looking to pull back and make that loss not as impactful by getting a win against a team who you would expect now to be top of the pool after that win against Bristol.
Well, both of these sides are using this game and this tournament for EUCS ranking points. The expected matchup. So we see Maya Israel with just a stone cold drop in the centre of the pitch. You hate to see it.
I think the wind has pushed that one down again. It's just a case of not tracking it all the way for Smog. That's been the story of the game so far.
Oh, I need to be more Avril Hunter. Watch the disc all the way into the hands, a la Cupcake. But yeah, the expected algorithm score should be 13-5, but that one is great defence. Israel just making sure that one can't escape into the hands of Hannah John.
Missing it first time and doing it second time, but as long as it happens, that's all that counts.
Well, that one just sneaks through the open waiting arms of Gigi Morrison. And Lynch to pick up. Takes the reset to Sean. Do to Booth. Nice work from Tessa Hunt there, just denying that downfield pass, but Sham instead. Through to John. Such a powerful athlete. Does a little bit of a cheeky crossfit on the side, and it's a cheeky backhand into a very small window indeed, but Ian Shah comes through and snaffles it up.
Lovely reset cut from Sham up the line, gets a lot of space from Helen Thompson and then is able to beat her to that front cone as well, and that is a really, really nice point for the Siik D-line, causing Smog a lot of problems. There was a couple of turns that you would say are probably more drops than anything else, but they're drops, I think, because they're having to put that disc really far out in front or having to work really hard because that Siik D is being so tight at the moment.
Well, this is a really interesting scenario, and certainly in this stage of the first half, 2 points away from taking it are Siik, and 3 breaks up a commanding lead, and of course they will start the second half on offense, will the Londoners. It's a very interesting scene indeed, because if this one goes to kind of a 3-way tie scenario, you think if Siik can continue this campaign and stretch a big old points differential against their northern opponents, that could really help them in any matchups that have to go to points difference, head-to-head results, all that kind of fun stuff for the schedule writers.
We see Siik moving some people over onto the D-line here. Kirsten Wells pulling. She has played on the O-line so far, so that's a new wrinkle for them, but I suppose when you've had a few breaks, when you're on a bit of a run, you need to figure out a way to get some people some rest and put out the strongest possible D-line, so not too surprising, and we see again this zone with Smog going against the wind again.
Yeah, 4 back, Morrison, Hyde, Randalls and Thompson. Dalman coming in, trying to sort of pop, looking a little bit clustered. Siik using the wind to their advantage, but that's a lovely bit of read from Randalls. Been playing this sport for longer than most. Majority of UK athletes pick up ultimate frisbee at university, but Randalls came all the way through the junior programmes out of the Wirral. Thompson continuing to fake those scubas, even going against the rather feisty wind. Has the tempting target, chooses the easier swing through, and then all the way over to Colenso. Dalman in plenty of room. That's a difficult shot though to execute. Patience is the virtue there for Hayley Dalman. Dishes across to Morrison. Colenso to the cone, and it's a poor throw, unfortunately, after some very nice zone offence.
They're playing offense exactly like that Siik zone wants them to play offense at the moment. They're playing all these little passes in the middle. That's exactly where Siik want them, and then they're putting up floaty passes going forward, which again is exactly what they want. Colenso's angle there is a relatively tough angle to throw to. I think that should probably be a little flatter. Smog have not clicked at all in the last few offensive points. Siik zone has really taken them out of what they want to do. Scott looking downfield into Wells.
Oh, you can see the legs chopping to try and get to the sideline there for Nadine Golding. And that one, Thompson just communicating with the sideline to make sure that she gets all the yards she's due. Closer towards this end zone. So Thompson has Hyde just going towards that front cone, wins the battle. Nothing that Iona Livarski-Bond can do about that one, but just watch it happen.
Yeah, that throw from Wells, it's expansive. Obviously, if that comes off, it's a big gainer. You're going downwind, you've got a bit of, I suppose, forgiveness in the conditions, but just not putting enough edge on it. Goes all the way out, or out all the way near your own end zone, just puts the D-line in a tough spot there. It's nice. You could hear the play call, Helen Thompson calling exactly what she wanted. It's nice execution in the end. But Smog have really got to figure out how to play against that zone, because that last point, the throw from Colenso just hung her. It was a nice catch from Haley Dowman, but ideally you wouldn't be bringing down catches in a pack, because there's so much space behind that cup, and at the moment they've just got 5 players all around the cup and then 2 players a long, long way away, and that's not really a useful way to play against this zone.
So Siik still in charge of the pace in this game, using that zone defense to great effect. Playing the elements perhaps, but they've been using it both directions.
Yeah, they have. They've been, because I mean, a zone with the wind can be useful as well, because if you're trying to throw that scoover over the top, that scoover over the top is going to be pushed a little further than you expect. Brings the deep into play. The deep also knows that they can push up a bit, knowing that those throws are going to go over the top. It does mean that if that throw goes over the top and it's perfect, you've got absolutely no chance of getting there, but sometimes it can be good playing it with a stiff breeze coming towards you, because it makes it tough to throw when you've got a bit of extra yards on your throws.
Well, that was a nice rescue from Katrina Chong off that early difficult throw from Booth. And Smog trying to play Siik at their own game with the zone. Lynch connecting with Fielder. That's a lovely option over there.
It's a much more passive zone than Siik's.
Well, talk us through it then, Sean. What do you see?
Siik have got 3 players playing in a pretty aggressive cone, and those throws are having to come through the middle, whereas this is a more flat 3. They're allowing those resets around the back. Siik are trying to take those away, although as we see, you allow those resets, and eventually that's the thinking here. Someone's going to make a mistake on those pretty simple around the back throws, and just in these conditions, it's difficult to repeat it over and over and over again.
Yeah, Fielder there will be frustrated when she watches this one back. She's now got the matchup of Lara Murray. Not of tennis fame, but that one just about squeaks through to Anderson. Hand back. So the zone playing some dividends, and there's going to be a pick call that will surely bring that one back.
It's very, very messy at the front of that end zone set. You have Tiff Anderson slashing across from the front. Bond came around there. It looks as though catching that, was that low?
Yeah.
There's a lot of players moving in a very small space there.
So back in the hands of Murray. This time it's just a lead, a nose in front towards the cone. Hannah Quinn, and that will put one of the breaks back for Smog. Still trailed by 2 though.
Yeah, nice point for the D-line. Slowed them down with that zone. Like I say, it was relatively passive, just trying to slow down Siik's momentum, make them make some passes. Worked out beautifully. A little messy when they get to the end zone, but Hannah Quinn is having a really good game so far. Marshalling the D-line, keeping that disc moving, and it's a nice throw into space from Lara Murray, who's just returning from injury. So nice to see her back, and nice to see Smog get one on the board. Looks like we're in for a really competitive game here.
Indeed, Murray's been playing with Sheffield Steel in the mixed division as well, early parts of this season. But a timeout being called, I imagine, by Siik to try and stop any momentum that Smog are trying to build here. We will take a brief break in the booth as well, though. Don't go anywhere, folks. Can Smog go on a run of their own and carve back this deficit? women's division here at UKU Nationals. The championships in July, not in August. Being moved, shuffled through the schedule, as many of the athletes out there on the pitch in front of us will be, of course, representing Great Britain later on this season at the Gold Coast in Australia. Myself, Hannah Pendlebury, alongside Sean Colfer, as we've seen both teams playing zone of different iterations. And Siik, 2 breaks up. Hannah John starts to race away towards the deep space. That's a great bit of defense, though. Fantastic block.
Sam Chu, fantastic block there. Read that all the way and just took the perfect line just inside to knock that one away.
Oh, trying to punch the ticket for the break train. That's a big old bush for Hannah Quinn, but can't quite get there. Way too early. I think she was looking for Murray, though.
I think Murray starts off deep and then cuts to come back inside, but by the point she's done that, Quinn has already kind of wound up to send that one deep, so it's just a little bit of a miscommunication. Even still, I'm not sure if Murray had carried on, she would have been able to catch up to it. It was a very flat throw from Quinn. Yeah,
I think earlier stages of this game that would have been perfectly weighted, but the wind has dropped down. It's kind of sinking and rising in a weird gusty affair. Wilson still rising, has fielder. Johnny now is going to escape away. Galani under massive pressure from Nyoma. Now Lavarsky Bond. That looks so good in flow. Fielder's going to have to reach all the way around, and again it's denial from Sam Chu.
2 blocks in 1 point, playing really, really well. That option looked very aggressive as soon as she released it.
I'll put her on some rails. This time it's Quinn on the back end of a big huck instead of chucking it. And calls the timeout. Controversial.
It's a difficult one. It is a difficult one because usually in that situation, I absolutely hate that call. That is not a call I would ever like a team that I was running or involved with to do, but she was very isolated when she caught that. The throw, we see the throw here from Wilson, just sitting it up a bit too much. She was able to read that. It's actually an incredibly good catch because Fielder's coming back over her shoulder to get her second block of the point, and then McCabe, that is an absolutely excellent huck. And you see Quinn catches it, she has time to get on there, but there's no one else really there. The next 4 players, I think, closest to her when she catches that are all Siik players. So it is challenging. Generally, I would like to see if we can get a reset back off there, but it requires your teammates busting a gut up there to try and help you. And she was in a difficult situation there, but Quinn, a young player, when she made the indoors team in 2021, was it? I think it was a surprise for some people who didn't know her that well. I think she was still at university at the time. But she has been really improving the last few years, and she'll be going to Australia with GB Women. So been playing really well in this game. Very impressed.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's kind of a question about kind of a younger sport. We are still in the early days of Ultimate. Not been quite to the levels of participation and glory that other more traditional sports might have. But certainly there's something to be said for teams selecting youngsters that they might not be in every single point of those really must-win games, but the development of someone that shows a lot of promise, the right attitude, and already has a decent solid base of skill set, it can really make a difference to your overall program and certainly the legacy within kind of a seniors team.
Yeah, I think the big thing you're looking at, particularly when you would have picked someone like Hannah Quinn for that indoors team, is the attributes that she has. And one of the attributes that she has is she's got very good hand-eye coordination, rarely drops anything, and she's very quick. And that's not only in a straight line, foot race quick, but in and out of breaks as well. She's tough to live with in those short movements, particularly highlighted in that handler position. So those attributes that stood out at the time as making her a potential prospect have made her into a good player now, and I'm sure in the coming years will make her even better.
Well, a little bit of isolation, trying to get Chu going, because of course she's had an absolute fantastic point so far. But just sitting in that handler space, trying to go for the run through. But a difficult, awkward angle for Quinn to attack. This time though, it's just that around, nice and easy, into the path of Naomi Bond, and that is another break on the trot. A run of 3 for Smog of their own.
Really nice understanding between players there. Chu, Quinn, and Murray, the three that were keeping that disc moving. Chu and Murray, both Sheffield University players, have played together. They know each other well. Quinn, I think, was in lead, so less so with spinning loads of reps together. But clearly they built good chemistry training with Smog, because Quinn's going every other, and the other two are just offering really good options. And as soon as Quinn has a little bit of space, they're going back to her, moving it around until finally we get Bond free in the end zone. One of the things I'm very interested in with this Smog D-line is Neoma is a player I don't know very well. I think one of the younger players on this team, and every time she's been on, she's been taking the Galani matchup, which is an interesting call given that you have a lot of players that play for GB women on their D-line on this Smog team. It's a real show of faith in a young player there, which is nice to see.
Well, the rhythm and the momentum in this game is starting to change hands. Did you see Gigi Morrison there with a little plushy fish? I'm sure there's a more depth of a story behind that one, but I'm loving the accessorization on the fishy. Of course, these blue bows that Smog have got going. Accessorization is a rarely seen part of Ultimate, but I love the proper cohesion of all of the kits, because you know there's if you look into the depth of the rules appendix for the World Federation rule set, there's some seriously strict requirements.
Yeah, lame.
So Siik looking to hold on to an offensive point for the first time in a little while.
It's back to this zone from Smog.
Yeah, keeping it nice and passive. Oh, but there's a spoil nearly with the recovery, but just a little bit of a loose disc from John.
So John throws an absolutely massive fake that I think puts off her own teammate as well.
So enviable opportunity, but just misses. That disc from Bond was far too low. And Sham looking to get us underway straight out of the blocks. Jong, that one high but well handled by Scott, formerly of Reading. Now trying her hand in the women's division. Second season with Siik, my memory serves. That one a little bit too spicy perhaps. And another great attempt this time. I think that one will go to the offensive fielder. But massive play from Samantha Chu.
Technically, what they did, what Chu and everyone here did, was right, because there was no call. But good spirit there from Chu as well, immediately acknowledging that that it was simultaneous.
Scott surveying, has a cheeky think about a big shot, but softens off that fake. John all the way across. Not able to really puncture through, just taking these passive swings and gaining small amounts on the sidelines. They're doing well not to fall too far back are the handler set. So there's no need to take the negative yards.
Match now.
Swinging all the way through, that's a nice find for Bethany Charles. Now to Sham. All quiet on the Western front. No really too many options emerging from the stack, so it's all the handler work, and Ian Sham through for the goal. 7-6. But Smog are really on the attack, applying so much pressure in that point.
Yeah, there's really good composure from Siik. They had a turnover, obviously, early on. Smog gave it back with just a throw that's a little too low. Murray maybe could have got there if she goes all the way down. Just a slight misread out the hand as well. But even after that turnover, the pressure from Smog was really high. The zone was good, making them make a lot of passes, making Siik make a lot of passes. When they flipped a match, it was really, really nice. But Siik just making ground gradually, making good decisions, keeping it moving, and doing a good job of getting that point in and getting themselves back on the board.
So a timeout called as we
Always on the move. you can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
Back in action here. Smog currently chasing down the lead of Siik. 2 breaks to their name, but 1 shy of their opponents. Of course, the closeness of the scoreline belies the fact that we are in the first half still. Games will be played to a maximum 15, and that is a great little ball. That's going to put plenty of pressure as G.G. Morrison brings us in at the corner.
It's about as good as a pull could be, really.
Immediately happy to take that option over to Thompson, but there's a drop from Hyde.
It's a tough catch out in front of her, but really a player of Hyde's experience and quality would be expecting to reel that in.
So a gift. Can Lynch do anything with it? Jan Champ going for the dance in front, but the reset to Scott. Oh, that's a lovely option, and just about hangs on. Another one. Another break for Siik, and they take half, 8-6.
Yeah, doing really well, good reset, and then as you say, looks like Cockle was wide open on that option after the reset, and that is a big point for Siik because that puts them ahead, and they're going to be coming out in the second half with something to defend. Kind of a first half of runs there. Siik got a little one to put themselves ahead. Smog got one to bring themselves back into it, but Siik able to finish out on their own mini run. 2-point lead going into half.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was a break at the end for Cockle, but either way, had a lot of mustard on it, but puts out the bun and says, yeah, I'll eat that all day, thank you very much. So a break to finish off the first half for Siik. How will Smog respond, trailing by 2?
Always on the move? You can keep up to date with ULTI.TV on all of our social media channels. Like, follow, subscribe, share us with a friend, or send us a message just to say hey. Thank you for supporting us in our mission to grow Ultimate everywhere.
If you're enjoying this game, there are a couple of things you can do. You can hit the like button. Currently a couple.
Nova Scotia Electric, become a member.
He's in a great spot. He's in a perfect spot. Yes, his massive head has blocked everything. That was a huge play, but we have seen none of.
We've just made a discovery here in the commentary booth, and the discovery is that Sean Colford does not like fennel. So apologies if he's
Absolutely disgusting.
making mouth noises.
Ugh,
Delicious Italian fennel biscuit.
my lord.
So a ball rolls out on the side of the bounds, and it's going to roll off the fingertips of Caitlin Wilson, Holly Blackburn of Chichester Cobras, ultimate fame.
This could be big. Getting that break into half gave Siik the opportunity to get that mini break because they're coming out on offense in the second half. If they're unable to put that in, that kind of negates a big bit of the benefit of getting that break to finish out the first half.
Indeed. Well, two teams tussling against each other. The last time they met was a sudden death finish. That one went in favour of Siik back at the spring tour, spring start-up. But difficult thing for Smog now is that they are fighting against the wind. You can see the breeze picking up and moving the flags, as you see a very, very tight mark. I might say a little bit too tight in fraction style. That foot going up. Wilson trying, but Bond going well over the top, nice and early.
Nice D from Bond. I think Bond is another one of the younger players on this team. Still a teenager, I think. Really, really solid defender, and that was just going up early, getting there ahead of Wilson and knocking it away.
So this is an enviable field position now. Bond, low one through to McCabe. I do believe has a little cheering section in our live chat.
McCabe's open there.
Oh, who was supposed to be marking Emily McCabe?
Yeah.
The switch's gone blown and wrong, I think, and that is a huge break for Smog.
So I don't know if it's a switch. It's definitely a really clever cut from McCabe, because what happens, it looks like she goes to the far side of the field away from the camera and then immediately loops, and her defender was not expecting it at all, and it just means that she is wide open on that front cone. And that makes the catch so easy, makes the throw much easier, makes the decision easy, makes it easy for everybody, and that is a really important break for Smog, because there was an opportunity for Siik to go up, what was that, 9-6 there? That would have been tough to come back from.
Absolutely. Well, let's see if we get this angle on McCabe's cut.
So she's the one that provides that across the front for Lim, and then loops back around.
Yeah, absolutely leaves the mark for Dusk. I think she was targeted by Rachel Spanton for her match defense sort of pairing. Not someone that's easy to leave on a foot race.
Neoma on Gilani again there. Again, I mean, I can keep coming back to it, but it's surprising to me. You've got players like Quinn, GB women's player. Chu is one of the best athletes on this Smog roster. They're putting one of the younger players on Gilani, who's doing a really good job, because Gilani is among the toughest covers in the women's division in the UK. Just a player who can do whatever you need it to do. You need it to handle, she can do that. You need to cut, we can do that as well. And yeah, Neoma's making it tough on her.
Yeah, and a sponsored B Ultimate Athlete, no less. So see Sharp in the central position, finds Booth.
Zone again.
Siik trying to exploit that central pocket through, but Quinn's there.
Yeah, Quinn was playing the kind of, you play it mullet or whatever you call it, the person who's in the middle, 3 chases up front, a diamond downfield. Quinn was in the spot to make it as difficult as possible and got there really nicely.
Well, this would be the consolidation of breaks with the breeze behind them. Bond now. Looked like she had the scuba grip going for quite some time there. Now it's low. Neoma. Using the hands to hustle. Oh, that's a great layout from Bond just to save possession. And the inside breakthrough, exploiting the big poach off from Booth, and it's Quinn for the goal.
And that is excellent. I think Neoma and Quinn and Lowe, the 3 of those players, I think they're among the younger players in this Smog roster. And that is excellent patience and doing the right thing and composure, not forcing things, making sure you take the right option, faking that shot downfield into the end zone, making a Siik D reset and cover that front cone, and then being able to move it around the back. We saw obviously it was a really nice catch from Bond, keeping her eyes on it. As we see this turn here, you can see the fake comes in and Quinn just reads it. That's going to be a fake and a throw to Booth, gets there first. But you see just constantly doing the right things. Neoma doesn't force it onto that front cone, instead does the right thing, tries to keep it resetting. It's good defense, but Bond is able to keep an eye on it, keep her hands on it, and again moving the mark around, waiting until Quinn has huge amount of separation at the front of the end zone. Really nice point from the Smog D, and they are rolling at the moment. I mean, Smog have had, that looks like 5 of the last 7 points. They've got that break just into half, but other than that, they've had 3 in a row, now 2 in a row, playing really, really nicely.
Yeah, a really solid stretch from Smog. I think in terms of the real shift of momentum, it is that point coming out into the second half. I mean, I still hold what I said initially, that mark pinning, I think it might have been Pickens to the sideline, was very, very tight. Perhaps more tight than I would be comfortable playing through myself, but it forced that backwards difficult throw into the wind that Wilson was unable to do anything with, and such an easy field position was given at that moment. Lynch with a drop. See perhaps some of the vibe starting to creep in there, and it's going to be Bond to get us started, as the wind really does start to pick up in this game. You can see how much impact it has on that first throw.
Smog have brought over Israel from the O-line as well.
Or you need someone who can sort of, you know, be that linchpin. Lasky Bond's going to put that one up on a piece of string. Just softly, gently. It's all about getting maximum snap and a higher release point. That one through. Great attack and grind towards the front cone. That one's too low. Wells has a great bid at it, but just falcon punches it into the dust.
Yeah, it's a really nice bid. Throws a little bit too far. It's a shame. The other three throws in that point were all absolutely excellent. The Varsity Bonds throw, the one from Sham, the one to Sham there, just on the end zone line. Three excellent throws from Siik. Really getting that offense moving, but just a little too far out in front of Kirsten Wells, a little too low. And she can't get there despite her best efforts.
Yeah, it makes those short range forehand throws so much more difficult, the current conditions. That was going to be potentially a Callahan though. And it is indeed. Is there going to be a call on it from Bond? No, just a hand slap low and a Callahan for Siik in blustery conditions.
O-line Callahan, you don't see it often, but that, given the wind and given the situation right in that front cone, you saw Sham and one other player, I don't fully remember who, totally ignoring their markers and just sitting underneath. If you want to go over the top of us, you can give it a go, but the wind is making this so difficult that we're just going to stop you getting anything upfield and make those resets hell. And in the end, Bond was left with nothing. You see Sham just sitting in that space there, completely ignoring that player as she goes away, rotating onto someone else, just protecting that space. You can see Hannah John doing the same thing, and then that's just a really difficult reset. Bond isn't able to get a hand on it, and the Varsity Bond pulls it down.
Well, it's the double barrel Bond with the shot in the end zone, and that will be a little bit of nitrous oxide to add to the tank for Siik. They're making some very smart defensive options, as you pointed out, Sean. Really enjoy the way that they're running the clipboard. Of course, we've got two coaches, both teams with non-playing coaches, which we love to see.
Yeah. Max Mosley for Smog. He's in the white with the hat. There we go. There's Max. Original Smog player, I think. Went to York University for sure, so I think he was around when Smog started. And then for Siik, it is Omar Khan, deep space player. Don't know if he's still playing with deep space. He doesn't appear to have any football boots or anything on, so might be sitting this weekend out, but coaching team of his wife, Rupal Galani. So it's nice to see both teams with a coach. I think it's more common in the UK now, nice to see. And mentioning it, congratulations to Rupal and Omar.
Yes, indeed. The pictures on Instagram were exceptional, as one would expect. Morrison tries to connect with Randalls, but it's Hunt coming through for the redemption. Just great awareness. We've seen many a player get backed up on this live stream field so far today. Thompson over to Randalls, makes that look so silky smooth. Now Hunter, see that head go down, she watches it all the way, and that looks to be Colenso. It is indeed Lizzie Colenso with another goal for Smog, and they still trail, but just by one.
Obviously the throw to Tessa Hunt, or the Tessa Hunt caught, was a little ropey, but after that, really, really nice. You saw Helen Thompson give a nice reset option to Gigi Morrison after a beautiful throw down the line from Avril Hunter, and then as soon as they worked it across the field, as we see it here, Gigi Morrison goes into that flick to make it easier for the reset. Can be a really difficult throw, but executed nicely. Thompson back to Randalls, to Hunter, and then Colenso, all just wide open options, very nicely executed. Nice offense from Smog. they certainly seem to be back in their groove now, and I think we're going to get a pretty good end to the game, because Siik are fighting, battling for every yard, and they're doing enough to get the job done, and their opponents are executing almost flawlessly offensively, but are just struggling to execute the D-line offense. That's the big thing for this game now. Can Smog's D make the opportunities they're getting pay? Because at the moment Siik are doing a great job of battling through it.
Well, the last time, as we already mentioned, these two opponents matched up, it was an 11-10 victory to Siik. And both of these teams having universe point finishes in their previous matches. We've been saying it for a while, especially after that 2022 World Clubs, where there were a lot of teams finishing quite close together in the women's division from the UK. The parity has been getting increase and uplift every single year. So you see Blackburn looking a little bit lost for options, just tries to chuck it across the pitch. Might have been nicer to just try and go for yards.
Smog have got Helen Thompson out here on D. She's been playing O for the whole game. Generally known as an offensive player, even when she was playing mixed for Smog and with GB mixed, she's an offensive player. So out on the D line to try and get that disc moving, but turns over. Commentator's curse there from me.
Coach's curse as well. Of course, you've got the pleasure of coaching GB mixed this season, and Thompson a big part of it. The other Thompson twin, of course, more known for being a D-line handler. Maybe she'll have some sage words of wisdom for her sister. That's a much better execution, though, that Neoma made a very easy job for. That might have a bit too much underneath it. Oh, but great footwork in the final moments, and Sam Chu with the break back, and Smog for the second time in this game taking the lead.
Sam Chu with yet another block. That's 3 blocks in one game for her, and then the score as well. Amazing stuff. Neoma with the throw. Honestly, as soon as she released it, I thought that was a questionable decision because it's such a narrow angle to throw into, but that is wonderfully executed. We see Thompson out to Neoma. It's a good catch out in front. And you can see the follow through is very unusual as well. It's like a very whippy action. There's no follow through at all with the arm, but gets it out in front of Chu. Great feet from Chu, great concentration, and it looks as though Siik have taken a timeout here.
Yeah, you could see actually Hannah Scott, one of the leaders of the team, immediately signalling that timeout after that goal went in. She wants to try and stop any momentum developing under the squad of the Smog. Of course, they're trying to just have that weather condition phase in and cause confusion for Siik. But yeah, that last final throw, interesting is indeed that whip, giving that extra bit of loft, and Sam Chu having quite the game so far. We'll stay with live play. So we have about 17 minutes left of regulation time. Of course, maximum score cap of 5. We might well get there regardless. But Siik just need to hang on in here. They've done a great job of getting blocks when they've needed them. But Smog building their campaign throughout the course of this match.
Yeah, Siik was 6-3 up. You know, and at that point they were absolutely flying. Looked like they were going to be able to really make this game tough. I think they were 6-3 up and they had the disc as well on D. Smog had turned over in that point. So at that point it was like, are Siik going to be running away with this? Since then, it's a 7-3 run from Smog to put themselves back up. We are now on serve, I believe. Smog started the game on offense, so we're just now on serve. It's taken a while for Smog to get back there, but they're flying now, and you wouldn't put money on them failing to get more breaks in this game with the way that D-line is playing at the moment.
Scott, over to Sham.
Looks to me like we're back in this zone.
Well, not surprised, especially now that Smog have got that 1 point advantage. The passive zone is a really good shot for them. Scott deciding not to go for the crossfield to Hannah John. Just a little bit too much distance between those two players. Now Scott trying to get more adventurous on the far sideline. Be nice to see a bit of more foot movement from Chong rather than just that bend low. Nearly taking that one directly in the mouth. Bond threatening. Good switching upfield, still able to really stifle anything over the top. But Siik really trying to treasure possession. Sham requesting more popping action in the centre of the pitch. Now does it herself. Fielder. Siik really trying to rotate through. Again, this near side handler could be a little bit more aggressive. That could have been a bit more of a gainer for Cockle, but instead Smog are just nudging Siik ever backwards towards their own goal line.
This is a 3-3-1 from Smog, right? You've got 3 people up front, 3 people in the middle, Quinn, and then Murray and Anderson on the wings. And those 3, that middle 3, Anderson, Murray and Quinn, are doing a brilliant job of passing players off between them and making it really, really difficult for the handlers to know when someone is marked and when they're not.
The noise from the sidelines really trying to amp up the defence. Coach Mosley on the far side. Strong body language. And we are now almost the full stretch to go for Siik as they can't seem to find any upfield movement. Be really nice to see maybe them try and push through from behind with a bit of momentum.
Smog getting a little too aggressive there. You had 2 people caught underneath them players, and that's why Siik were able to get a bit of a jailbreak. The turnover there.
Well, they break the mental fortitude of Siik at long last. There have been quite a few passes so far in this point, but Bond taking the time out. I'm not a huge fan of that.
Me either. As discussed, taking timeouts during a point I'm not a big fan of, and you would think that with 6 heads down, we've just had to play against the zone and make loads and loads and loads of passes, and then we've turned over. All that work was for nothing. You would think their heads are down a bit, you pick that disc up and you go. I think would be the option I would prefer. But clearly this must be something that Smog have talked about and they've worked on, because Bond ran over to that and made that decision immediately. So you would think this must be something that's been discussed. They want to get a play sorted out. They want to get everyone in the right position.
Well, we will take a brief moment of repose though. Will this be a turn and burn? Or is it a golden choice for Naomi Bond? Let's find out.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
So in our booth, we've just been talking about how we feel about this live in timeout. No, it's timeout, in play timeout.
Yes.
And I think it might be because Naomi Bond's been absolutely grinding, putting in a shift at the front of the zone and getting so close to about 5 blocks. So maybe wanting a little bit of chill time for herself as an athlete. But Lara Murray unable to get her paws around that one. The wind rises and the disc falls.
Yeah, that is the thing with taking timeouts like that. You set the D as well. They were able to get into a good position. It's a tough throw to Murray, and now you're not getting that timeout back. but it is what it is, and Smog put the zone back on, and I'm sure they're going to make this very, very tough on Siik all over again.
Well, they're already starting to push them backwards. Again, it would be really nice to see the handlers push a little bit more through from the back, just to try and move that front three around. That one, though, thrown at the knees of Hannah Scott. The clap of doom, and the disc hits the deck.
They're just really struggling with this Smog zone. We saw at the beginning of the game that Smog was really struggling with the Siik zone. Flipped all the way around now.
Bond to pick us up again. Oh, and just the bobble. You can see that focus starting to drop after the grind that Smog have had to put in this game. And Siik now trying to shoot against the breeze. Cockle getting a little bit disconnected and far away there, and Johnny unable to collect.
Yeah, this is really mental errors more than anything now. These players all have the ability to make these throws. It's just a little behind, a little too far in front.
We're going back to that third point of the game, that one with 6 turnovers. That's sort of the style that's re-emerging. That's just, again, just the lack of focus there.
It's 3 drops in a row for Smog. All of them, the passes are right on the money. They're exactly where they need to be. And just not getting those hands sorted out in time.
Siik trying to race away with it. A slightly lackluster fake from Bethany Charles, and then they lose possession. Quinn.
Fast start.
We love to see it. Bond. Siik's better this time of the 1 through to low, but it's going to be a sneaky little front cone action for Lara Murray, and at long last that point ends with a break of score. Smog really starting to dominate now, just in terms of the energy of this game, and that long drawn out point. They'll take the momentum through to the last couple of minutes with just under 10 minutes remaining of regulation time.
With the timeout, we were talking during the break about my preference. There would be, you just had Siik turnover, their heads are down, they're feeling bad about themselves because they had to do loads of work, loads of passes, and then there was a turnover. Pick it up and go, because the fast turnover in those circumstances can be really powerful, as we just saw there at the 4th time of asking. Pick it up, go, move it. Those defenders aren't able to get set. People don't know where the disc is. You're having to recalibrate constantly. You're going to leave people open. It's exactly what happened. Siik moved it quickly, and we see Lara Murray celebrate because she was left wide open in the end zone. Easy pass in the end, but a tough point for both teams. Really, really good zone from Smog, but they had to work very hard to contain Siik, who they were making some mental errors, but they're still working really hard, still running really hard, and they are still offering lots of options.
Well, Smog getting hot at the right time in this game, decorating the second half of the scoreboard with break on break on break. That's 2 runs of 2 breaks in a row, with a little peppering of the singular clean hold. Well, not even clean hold for Siik. Starting to break down and lose that focus a bit. But this to try and put a little bit more gas in the tank. Wells to pick up. Lynch looking a little bit hesitant. Galani upfield. All of Siik swarming towards the far side. Lynch unable to connect that one. Just the hands in an awkward position as she fell to the ground.
Helen Thompson and Maya Israel over from the O-line here. Helen Thompson's going to go and pick it up. We've got McCabe isolated in that space with Lynch on her.
Yeah, it makes sense to load them up, shooting into the breeze. McCabe off towards the deep space immediately. That's going to be a tricky one to bring down. It's Israel and the lefty dish. Is that an offhand? I'm pretty sure it is.
No, Maya is a lefty. Maya is a lefty. It's not quite that saucy.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past her. The former Siik player, now with Smog, enjoying that connection there. The 2 O-line players pulled across for this upwind point.
Not 100% sure about the option from Helen. I think if it was with GB, we might have had words about it against the wind.
Joe Cole, why not?
I'm not 100% sure about it, but it's paid off. It's obviously it's for McCabe, and you can see McCabe and her mark, Lynch, both struggling to read it, but Israel comes out, just follows it up, cleans it up, and pops it off immediately for the goal. But this is what happens when things are going well for you. We said this in a game earlier. When things are going well for you, that's how it goes. Things pay off.
I think it's also that mentality coming across maybe of, you know, of, oh, I get to go and play on a D-line, why not? Because it's a slightly different assignment that you get as an O-line versus a D-line handler. You know, O-line, it's about execution, it's about consistency, high percentage rate of options chosen, whereas defense, if you've got someone that you trust, that you know can go and win a matchup downfield, even against the likes of Connie Lynch, why not? But it works, and that will be another to add to the cuts, the slashes that Smog are now applying to this matchup, bringing the pain. This was expected to go a very different way based on our little flash of the rankings. Let's have a look. So expectations at the moment, Smog, as we already said, just about in the expected potential qualification for EUCS.
So Siik already have enough games. They've got their 10 games. Interesting.
Well, they've been at more events.
Yeah. But Smog seems to be better placed. And I think we're going to have to replace that disc after that pull. It's landed and made it all wobbly.
Taco.
Well, you can see it as Wilson scubaed that one off. It's wobbling from side to side in the air.
And of course, all of the discs here are Discraft regulation ones. Saw them all neatly laid out on the floor in front of the tournament booth this morning. Teams, of course, had to come and do their admin, get their rosters all sorted before they were allowed to have their new shiny discs.
Back to this zone. Is that a hand block or is a hand block?
Yep. Creds to Anhuelu. Denying Caitlin Wilson. Not many people have that title. Quinn underneath it, full stretch, and what a fantastic layout goal that was. 39, that's another on the bounce for Smog. 2 points to close this one out for them.
That's 5 in a row now. They are absolutely flying. Their D-line, the young players on the D-line are playing brilliantly. Bond, the throw is probably not exactly what you wanted. It's off the money, it's drifting a little too much, made it difficult on Quinn, but Quinn having a brilliant game, leaves her feet to make sure, and that is an excellent score for Smog. That's 5 in a row for them now, 4 breaks in a row. Siik really struggling to get the disc moving in any significant way against the zone going upwind, and then with the match going downwind, they're just struggling to get any separation and make anything count. So yeah, tough sledding at the moment for Siik, but I'm sure they're going to be able to get back to it eventually. Early part of this game are playing really well.
Yeah, I'm not massively surprised to see Smog sort of doing well at this stage in the game. We know from their previous matchup against Bristol that they had to overcome quite a significant deficit to take that one out on Universe eventually. Sort of, you know, had that last sort of momentum firing. But I think it's also the thing of, if you're going to look at these two teams as a matchup on paper, there is an edge in respect of depth for Smog, I think, in terms of their roster. Siik, this is no means me besmirching Siik's reputation. Certainly they're sort of top 7 from each. If you have a power line versus a power line, there's a pretty sort of even matchup for each of the athletes out there on the field. But I think it's that extra little bit of experience, some of the more kind of seasoned players that we're really used to seeing for Smog, maybe kind of able to carry the burden a little bit more effectively.
Potentially, but then the players that have been doing really well in the second half of Smog have been the younger players, Bond, Quinn, Nienso's doing a really, really good job on Galani still. So that may be a factor, but yeah, I think it's just a really good execution by Smog, particularly on the D-line in the second half here.
Seeking options in the middle space. Oh, great recovery from the bobble there. Golding now around. Melville getting involved for the first time in this game. Oh, that's a slicer through.
That's a shame. Golding had space there. It was just behind. Golding is very, very fast and was able to get separation from McCabe there, but the throw from Sham just a little off target.
Well, we see another iteration of this upwind D-line with Thompson and Israel on it. They seem to be the go-to look for the first point. Tessa Hunt, though, was also coming across to add a bit of extra personnel. That one's going to be taken away, though. Nearly the second effort from Neoma.
You could see as soon as she caught it, Tessa Hunt looked at Neoma and nodded and wanted to throw that the whole time. I'm not 100% sure it was on, but I respect backing your receiver as Tessa Hunt gets the block, uses that outstanding speed we've seen many times in the mixed division.
Well, and in women's as well, she started her earlier club playing days in the women's division with Relentless.
Never heard of them.
Playing alongside the likes of Hyde. Love to see her taking on those deep shots though. Something that's really developed in her game since she started playing with Smog. And there we have the signal, the hooter for the time. Is that a University of Bath disc?
Looks like it, yeah. Yeah.
So Melville looking for that pop-up field. Cockle coming in, and that's a difficult high stall throw. Excellent mark from Helen Thompson, who will now look to get this one notched on the scoreboard. A goal here would make a chasm of a scoreline difference, but it's just a little bit too far out for Lim to collect. So Siik with the opportunity for consolidation. Bowlby, oh, that's a fantastic grab for Karina Chong. Now, Ignite Sham. Big poach off from Thompson off the hand, the space on the far sideline. Tessa Hunt underneath it, but the wind's the real defender there.
Yeah, that was a big bobble in the wind. You could see the shape on it meant it was kind of fading back in towards the left there and just went up in the air and back down as you see that great layout catch from Chung. It's becoming a slightly attritional point now. We heard the hooter go, so we're adding one at the end of this. So we'll be going to either 14 or 15, depending on what Smog do here.
Well, Thompson on Coffin corner, as it gets referred to. That's a really difficult one for Bond to try and execute, and it just lands out of bounds. So Sham marshalling. Threatening that big around backhand. Takes it. Such big acreage, almost too tempting a target. Just about holding on is Golding. Nice bit of jinking back and forth. That one's askew though. Naomi Bond just reaches that arm out and punches it out of the air. Off she goes. Helen Thompson with the idea. Gets some good yards.
Yeah, it's almost a rugby play, isn't it? We've been playing down our end zone a little too long. Let's get it back down there, try and get a turnover there, and we can play from there. But nice defense from Bond there. The throw, not quite the right angle, but she took exactly the right line on the inside channel to knock it away.
Sham looking to immediately bust it deep. McCabe and Hunt both underneath it, ready and waiting.
Yeah, McKay peeled off and read that one nicely. Strong defensive performance from Smog overall. They've got a lot of blocks in this game.
Well, and also as the wind has reappeared, it's really been about putting those upwind breaks in and getting that sort of, 2-for-1 effect.
Sham just poaching all the way off again. Doesn't really mind too much about trying to guard over the top because that wind's going to help her out.
Yeah, the intelligence coming out of Siik's defensive choices has been high, but unfortunately they've just not been able to quite match that with the intensity of their offense at times.
I expected Tessa Hunt to want to send that one deep.
Sometimes you just have to do the hard work and grind it out. Golding with a lovely lead pass into the path of Beatrice Bowlby. You can see how much these Smog players want it to try and close this game out on defense, or at least give themselves the opportunity to. Of course, we still haven't had this final point after the time cap, and Sham with the goal. It will be a game to 14. Can Siik go on a run of 4 and shut things down for Smog? They haven't put that many on the scoreboard in a row. Their opponents have.
Yeah, that's a really, really tough point for both teams. Double-digit turnovers overall, and just a lot of tired decisions, and I think a lot of the wind just making every single throw so difficult makes it mentally so draining when you're out there for such a long time. but Siik eventually able to hold on, able to stop the bleeding a little there after that run of breaks for Smog. But Smog are now coming out with 4 chances to try and win this game. As we see Helen Thompson back out there. Wouldn't be a huge surprise to see Tessa Hunt back out there. Avril Hunter, Lucy Hyde, Hannah Randalls, Gigi Morrison.
Colenso, I think we'll add it off.
No, it's Quinn coming over from the D-line. I suppose D-line, she's on the D-line, didn't play.
No, Colenso's at the other end of the
Colenso's
line.
at the end here, and there's, yeah, okay.
And then on the other side of things, you've got Booth. He's been having it, well, phenomenal in the early stages of the game for Siik, but had a relatively quiet second half. Levarsky Bond, John, Fielder, certainly Galani at the end. I think that might be Childs.
I think that's Childs and Ing.
That was me.
Just need bigger numbers.
Yeah, yeah. They are quite challenging to read.
So, almost a bricked pull. That one nice reaching grab for Quinn from fellow GB teammate Hyde. That one though, again, the wind just having its way, causing mischief.
Bizarre win, because it looked like Colenso was going to get there, and then it looked like she left it for Hunter because it was going to drift, and then it just died in front of her. A little bit of drift and then none at all.
None for you. So, Levarsky Bond, 3/4 of the pitch to go. Can they extend this game and close the difference between them and Smog? Of course, points mean prizes with these EUCS ranking games. That one did not look great.
I thought that was down. I thought that bounced into Galani's hand. Quinn's definitely called that immediately. We'll see if we get a replay here.
Well, I think the decision on the field will be to go back, but we're going to get another look at it.
Difficult to tell with the camera angle, but I think that's down. But
Yeah.
again, players on the field have got an outcome they're happy with.
Well, it's also difficult to make up-down calls when you're stood about 15 metres above the play. Our angle is not the most beneficial for them. So Galani and John unable to connect up that line. And Thompson to get this second attempt at offence underway. Randall's unable to put the legs underneath that one.
Again, Siik, a lot of poaching in that open side lane. Galani stood in there for a bit. You saw John drop off in there.
And it's going to be a poach off underneath as well from Lucy Hyde. Attempting that shot through from Booth makes actually quite easy work of it. That's not so quite easy. But here we go. Can they start the campaign of breaks? They're going to need quite a few of them. Levarsky Bond. Oh, that's a beautiful inside, but it's blocked by Lucy Hyde.
That's the problem with the inside throw. Sometimes it does give the defender, a chance to get there because the channel is much narrower. And I don't think Avril Hunter realises, but a timeout has been called by Helen Thompson. Timeout called as Smog tried to plot their way to get a score, although I think there's a discussion about whether they have one left, but they do.
Indeed, and also seeing if they can actually take it in the time cap. We're going to take a brief pause. Don't go anywhere. This game will conclude in the next couple of minutes.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch,
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, ULTI.TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our
our
work
work.
to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the ultimate world
Hive Ultimate, a group of players and coaches from all over the world working together to progress the next generation of Ultimate strategy. We've helped top teams win world championships and new teams introduce the sport in a fun and inclusive way. Search for Hive Ultimate on YouTube to learn more about our cutting-edge strategies and to see analysis of world-class teams. To find out what Hive can do for your team, head over to our Patreon page where you can gain access to our exclusive drills and session plans and to join our worldwide community of coaches. Get ahead of the curve with Hive Ultimate.
The trams. We are lovers of public infrastructure here on ULTI.TV. No more so than Sean Colfer.
Absolutely. Public transport, way to go. So if you're ever in London, use the tube. I hear it's great, excellent customer service at all times.
Answer on a postcard for who employs Sean Colfer when he's not flirting around in a commentary booth. But currently it's all about Smog trying to close this game out. They had that spicy win against Bristol earlier. Thompson underneath that one. Why no one's running deep, I don't know, but there's going to be a foul call from Levarsky Bond. That just did look like it flew over the pack of players and directly into Thompson's hands, but maybe some contact elsewhere.
Siik just poaching in the open lane every single time, making these throws really narrow, and that is just a throw that has far too much float on it. Hyde releases it high anyway. Not 100% sure what the foul call was for there, but anyway, it goes back to Thompson.
Perhaps a little bit of contact between Levarsky Bond and Morrison, as we see Levarsky Bond just poaching into the centre of the pitch and then recovering. Perhaps Thompson and Galai need to play on the same team, because it seemed that those were the communications.
Smog had 2 or 3 really nice deep options there, but just getting a little impatient, I think.
So this game continues to fight it out. Siik trying to hold on, having done all the hard work in the first half. You can see there's a little bit of fatigue starting to grip their legs as Johnny has to rip it on 9.
Yeah. Absolutely nothing there to throw to, and you can tell didn't even look upfield. Just wanted to make sure that there was not a turnover at halfway. Just rips it into the end zone. No one there at all, but very forgivable turnover for Hannah John.
Yards.
Yeah, exactly.
Better than getting stalled out. So Thompson to get us back underway. Quinn immediately stroking towards the deep space to try and tempt the Sheffield University grad. Randalls instead. Someone who's also good at lozzing it deep. Hunter goes up. That's going to be an awkward one. Just about makes it through. Again, you see that little bob. Like she's trying to dive for treasure. Quinn, inside shot. And again, the wind just taking the disc away.
I thought that was going to hit the dirt outside of the end zone, and then all of a sudden it comes back up and went through the end zone. The wind is really playing havoc with some of these throws. I think the option is already extremely difficult in these conditions, made even more so. It's another situation I think where Smog, they have the end in sight. You've seen it with, I'm sure everyone who's played has seen it so many times. When you are right on the precipice of winning, people are just like, let's get it in the end zone and get this thing done. Probably a little bit of an ill-advised choice, but Siik have another chance here. And Smog, if they can get the turnover close to their own end zone, or close to Siik's own end zone, it's going to make things much easier for them.
Well, the call from the sideline is let's get a Callahan, which in these wind conditions is a real dream. We saw Levarsky Bond making that throw there, got one earlier herself, but there's a drop from Booth. And no quick pickup. Thompson wants the structure.
Yeah, she's calling something. Every time there's been a turnover close to the end zone, Thompson's been calling something.
Or even when they've got the full stretch, she's been calling. Real talismanic leader for this Smog women's side. Of course, formerly they had Rachel Naden. That's a really nice idea, but great coverage from Han Booth.
Again, a bit of a rushing option. It's a really, really tough throw to make. That away shot to the front corner of the end zone is something that's among the hardest shots to take in Frisbee. People think it's going to be really easy, but on that forehand side, putting that touch on the disc to make it stop in front of your receiver, really tough to do.
Fielder through. Nice grab for Johnny, but that is just a stone cold miss for Childs. Unfortunate.
Yeah, they just couldn't get their hands around it at all.
Hyde now, another short field opportunity for Smog. Quinn. Can they just walk this one in slowly? But it's going to be Quinn on the cone, and that will close this game off at long last. That was a very, very long overtime, quarter of an hour for those final 2 points to go on the board. But in the end, it was Smog, and they are looking prime for taking the top of this pool in the women's division.
Yeah, really smart cut from Quinn, out and back in, kind of deceived Galani a bit. It looked like it was going to be a bit of a slog, bit of a grind, but you see she goes back in the field and then just turns back over the left shoulder and hits the front cone again. Really nice cut, very smart. Good performance from Smog's D-line in particular in the second half, but they'll be very happy to have taken the win. Siik, some stuff to build on. You know, they had a really good start. There's some stuff to work with here. If they are able to win in their last game, who knows what results happen. Maybe they make the semis, but definitely stuff to work on. Decent performance during the first half in particular, but Smog take the win. Look forward to seeing them tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the thing that really sticks out for me, those last 2 points that had 12 turnovers and then 10 turnovers, says it all about how the wind conditions are changing and rising here. But we'll see how the Open Division fares. They're coming up next, a matchup between another Smog team, this time in the Open Division. So if you're a Northern Ultimate fan, make sure you catch that. But for myself and for Sean Colfer, it's been a pleasure, and we will see you on the other side.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, Ultimate.
ULTI.TV.